So the starters of the Kansas City Chiefs made a statement against the Chicago Bears, and in reality, it was a warning shot fired to the rest of the NFL. This was made evident for several reasons that I'll break down in today's video as I look at the key takeaways and standout performances from KC's preseason finale. Basically, the rest of the league should take notes on this one because the Chiefs offense might be all the way back. So let's talk about it. But first, how about those? Alright, first up, thanks to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video, but more on them later because the Chiefs are now 0-6 in their last 6 preseason games. So I think the dynasty's over, guys. It is donezo. At least that's how some Chiefs fans were acting when KC lost this game last night. Sure, the ending was a bummer, but not concerning. There is no "I'm afraid of the Chiefs' depth" argument to be made here because every player that was on that final drive from a defensive perspective for the Chiefs is not making this roster aside from maybe one, possibly 2 players. Those 2 players are defensive end Malik Herring and maybe defensive tackle Fabian Lovett Jr. The rest of the guys out there are not going to be making it. Kosiah Izzard, Nate Matlack, Owen Carney, Brandon George, Xander Mueller, Jacoby Covington, Glendon Miller, Kevin Knowles, who had a pretty solid game, especially on special teams, Azizi Hearn, and a Johnny Carter. All that to say, the loss is completely irrelevant, with the main takeaway from this one being Kansas City's starters looked dominant after the first 3 series between the Chiefs and Bears first team offense, defense going up against each other. The score was 17-3. Mahomes went 8 of 13 for 143 yards and a touchdown and was a Kareem Hunt touchdown drop away from being 9 of 13 with 2 touchdowns, and he threw for the most yards in a preseason game since 2022. This game for the offense was absolutely electric because, drumroll, Mahomes had time to throw the football. That means the O-line held, and after watching the coach's film, Josh Simmons just keeps getting better, as does Kingsley Suamataia. Both of these guys played 20 snaps, as did every other key starter along the line, and honestly, I'm not sure Josh Simmons lost a single rep here. He might have had some neutral reps, but didn't lose any that I could see. Even in the run game, he improved there, which a lot of people were saying, hey, there's a knock for Simmons. He needs to get better with the run blocking aspect of things, and I really think he did. Kingsley has looked more solid there against the run than in pass pro in the first 2 games, and so that wasn't really a concern there. The concern with Kingsley has been the quick losses he's had in pass protection, 3 of them in 12 pass pro snaps heading into this one. So that was what I was watching for. Well, after watching every single snap that Kingsley played, I did feel pretty encouraged about his performance until the very last snap. I'll get to that in a moment, but prior to that last play, which ended in an impressive Rashee Rice touchdown snag, Kingsley appeared, to me at least in my eyes, to only lose 1 pass pro rep. He held on long enough to allow Mahomes on that play as well to find Travis Kelce for a nice catch and run to move the chains. And after the Rice touchdown, the starters left, and I was like, let's go! But upon watching that touchdown pass to Rice back again, this is where Kingsley had his worst rep of the night. It was a very quick loss on an inside move, and had the play call not been a very quick and decisive throw to Rashee Rice on the right side, that would have most likely been a sack for a loss of 5 or so yards. So that wasn't great, but the result was still a touchdown. The play worked. We just did see another concerning quick loss there out of Kingsley Suamataia. With that being said, it is not all doom and gloom. He is getting better. I thought this was his best game yet, and for a guy that's never played guard before outside of, a series here or there a couple weeks in a row now, and then week 18 last season, this is a definite positive. No, he's not Joe Thuney, who played last night with the Bears starters, by the way, but Thuney is a top 3 guard in football. I saw someone recently tell me Thuney would never give up quick losses like that. Well, that's because he's one of the best guards in all of football. That's like saying Mahomes would never throw bad picks like Tua Tagovailoa. Well, gee, why do you think that is? My point is, give Kingsley time and he should only improve because that is literally what he showed us in this game. Improvement, and I'm going to take it. I'll also take the Brashard Smith stock rising as he, to my pleasant surprise, worked in with the first-team offense on the very first drive. Pacheco was out there first, which was expected, but then Smith saw the field twice before even Kareem Hunt and was targeted twice by Patrick Mahomes. The first one was a tough grab to make, and Smith almost hauled in an absolute missile from Patrick, but the very next time Mahomes targeted Smith, he hauled it in for 12 yards to bring KC to the 3-yard line, and Pacheco punched it in 2 plays later to draw first blood in this game. Brashard being used like that this early tells me he does have plans in this offense, maybe even more so than I initially believed. Sure, he may not get the carries or even the overall snaps that Pacheco and Hunt will, but he is a literal wide receiver turned running back and essentially a cheat-coded way for Andy Reid and Mahomes to have another receiving option at their disposal. Route running looks awesome from Brashard too, and the speed is clear as day. Before I talk about the rest of the running back room, because we definitely need to, that Brashard Smith catch was nice, yes, but Mahomes pointed out on that very play he missed tight end Noah Gray wide open for a touchdown. Went back and watched it. He was right, but the result was still 6, so it's all good. However, that wasn't the only route of the night Noah Gray won, and he looked really sharp, quick, whatever you want to describe it as. That was basically Noah Gray out there in the looks that I saw. He will be forgotten about a few times a game with all these other options Mahomes has, and when they do, Mahomes is going to find him, and Gray is going to make them pay. On the subject of the tight end room, though, the clear order on the night for tight ends was Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Robert Tonyan, then Jared Wiley. I don't see how Tonyan is the odd man out in that room to make the 53, and they most likely need to keep 4 tight ends on this roster. Tonyan led the pass catchers in production the first 2 weeks, and then in Game 3, saw the field on multiple drives before Wiley even walked out there. Travis Kelce, of course, led the tight end room on the evening, catching 2 passes for 32 yards on the 3rd drive. Kelce started getting open, by the way, because of something the Chiefs offense was able to find pleasantly surprising success in, which Mahomes himself mentioned in his post-game presser, so I want to talk about that and why this is so encouraging to me, along with several other takeaways. But first, now that summer break is over and my kids are back in school, it was time to reel back in the spending habits, getting back into the budget, and man, a couple of monthly payments on subscription services not only went up, wasn't a fan of that, but I also found a couple subscriptions I'm being charged for that I completely forgot about. So yeah, with the busyness of summer, these definitely slipped through the cracks. Well, that is where the sponsor of today's video, Rocket Money, is here to help. This personal finance app allows you to manage subscriptions, lower bills, build a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one place. I personally love using Rocket Money to cancel unwanted subscriptions. Once you connect your bank account, Rocket Money identifies all your subscriptions in a single list. From there, you can select the ones you don't want anymore, and Rocket Money may be able to help you cancel with just a few taps. No need to worry about customer service calls or none of that. In fact, Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year when you use all the app's premium features, and have also helped customers save over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. I also love being able to see all my upcoming recurring payments, and it just gives me peace of mind knowing what to expect in the coming days. All that to say, I cannot recommend them enough. Rocket Money definitely helps me free up my time so I can focus on making the best possible content for all of you. So to save more time and spend less, join the over 500 million members using Rocket Money today. Just go to rocketmoney.com/thosechiefs or click the link in the description to get started for free. All right, so Patrick Mahomes spoke after the game saying that the offensive line holding up like they did helps get everything else on that offense going if defenses continue to play against them how they have the past couple of seasons and even did last night. Something they found success in was throwing to the outside. Mahomes targeted Rice early, left side, that drew a PI. He then hit Tyquan Thornton for 58 yards down that left side, which was absolutely electric and officially locked Thornton onto the 53-man roster in the eyes of anyone who didn't already think he was going to make it. I'm thinking the deep ball is back. Mahomes also threw a nice back shoulder touchdown to Rice on the outside, the play that I mentioned earlier that Kingsley lost pretty quickly on, but that's 2 similar style touchdown passes from Mahomes like that in the preseason. This has been a clear emphasis, being able to win on the outside. Mahomes shared when you do stuff like that, it helps open up the middle of the field as the defense has to adjust their coverage, and that's what the Bears did, by the way, and that's when Kelce started cooking, having success in the middle of the field on that last drive. Honestly, outside of Kelce's drop on a bubble screen and Kareem dropping that pass in the end zone, I thought the offense went borderline nuclear here. Rice looked awesome, showing that quick burst on multiple plays. Worthy got involved on a quick pass of his own, and then Juju, he caught that 19-yard pass on third down via this impressive scramble drill by all involved. And Juju showed why he's a clutch receiver to have out there on the field, with Smith-Schuster himself telling the media this past week that he's in the best shape he's been in, physically speaking, in years. I think the catch made there by Juju and Thornton, his 50-plus yard catch down the field, speaks to the depth in the wide receiver room, because both Jalen Royals with the knee tendonitis and Hollywood Brown dealing with that foot injury he's almost healed up and back from did not play. This will also help during Rice's upcoming suspension. Valuable depth, obviously, whenever Rice's suspension ends up getting handed out. But speaking of depth, Nico Remigio looks to me like he's a lock at wide receiver 7 after Tyquan Thornton. He was the primary punt and kick returner earlier and caught a 30 or so yard pass via a busted coverage from Minshew. It got called back due to penalty, but Nico also made an impressive contested grab here on third down to move the chains. So I think Nico did enough to get a spot on the 53 with Jason Brownlee being right behind him. He almost scored a touchdown and was targeted a couple more times in the red zone. But unless they roll with 8, I don't think Brownlee makes it. Or maybe if Rashee Rice starts the season suspended, Brownlee would then be your wide receiver 7. I also want to point out that while Xavier Worthy only had 1 catch for 9 yards, Mahomes could have hit him deep downfield rather than Thornton on that same play. And then the play Mahomes decided to stress us all out on when he scrambled upfield for 18 yards, it looked like Pat wanted to hit Worthy deep down the middle of the field, but changed his mind on the very last second. Well, had he fired that ball downfield, Worthy was absolutely flying, and I think could have hauled in a touchdown grab there. Another guy who scored a touchdown was Isaiah Pacheco, who looks like he's got that burst fully back, and he averaged 7 yards a carry last night and also tried to absolutely demolish this trash can. This is a very Isaiah Pacheco-like play. I'm glad he's fine, but that was pretty funny. I felt pretty good about both Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt and have no questions about them. I don't know what to expect from Brashard Smith this season, but the way he was used last night was really encouraging to me, and I think they will definitely be doing that more. So those 3 for me, yes, locks on the roster. The question from there is, who is next to make it? Is it Elijah Mitchell over Carson Steele once all is said and done? Mitchell saw the field primarily before Steele. He had 1 snap, talking about Steele before Mitchell, but then Mitchell played a couple of series after that before Steele was even in the game, and it was very late when he ended up coming in and being used on a regular basis. Mitchell also had a hard-fought touchdown run near the goal line in the second half, and so I think if I had to pick between the 2 right now, I'm probably leaning Mitchell. Steele doesn't make it, but ends up on the practice squad. However, Casey's been looking around, making some calls, seeing if teams have a running back available. We don't really know if it'll end up happening, but they have reportedly been making calls. So hey, you never know. Steele and Mitchell could be gone with another player entirely winding up on their initial 53. However it shakes out, the running back room is the position group I'm watching for as cutdowns get closer. The biggest question for the offense as a whole on cutdown day are how many linemen they end up keeping to make room for what I think should be 7 wide receivers, maybe 4 tight ends if they keep Robert Tonyan, and then 3 to 4 running backs. Obviously, the more skilled position players they end up keeping, the O-line is typically what's affected. Now, I spent a lot of time on the offense, but there's plenty of defensive takeaways as well. Before I get to that, though, I did want to give a shout out to wide receiver Jimmy Holiday, a guy who maybe KC can try and sneak onto their practice squad because he had an awesome tackle on a kickoff. Very standout play from him there. Then he also caught that 50-yard bomb later in the game from Chris Oladokin that had me flying straight up out of my seat in excitement. Linebacker Jeffrey Bossa, like Holiday, also made an awesome standout tackle on a kickoff, but he also notably worked in early with the defense in the first quarter. He was primarily the 3rd linebacker to kind of move in there after Nick Bolton and Leo Chanel, or alongside them. In his snaps, he was pretty fun to watch too. Might have moved out of his assigned lane on a couple of plays, but he's a rookie. It's going to happen. And with both Drew Tranquill and Jack Cochran not playing, these were some very valuable reps for Bossa as he sprinkled in pretty early. Both Bossa and Cam Jones saw the field before Cole Christensen. So if the team rolls with 6 linebackers, I see them right now being Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill, Leo Chanel, Jeffrey Bossa, Jack Cochran, and Cam Jones. and we'll see what ends up actually happening. I honestly don't have many concerns based on what I saw from the starters on defense. They held the Bears offense to just 3 points in 3 drives. The last drive was a concern as Chicago got all the way into the red zone, but the defense held strong and B-Cook swiped away a 3rd and goal pass attempt made by Caleb Williams and forced a field goal. Chamari Connor had several solid tackles. He did get leapfrogged though, which you hate to see, and then lost containment on a Williams scramble over on the left side. The 2 top corners were Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, with Christian Fulton working in starting at the end of the defense's second series and then played a bunch of snaps the rest of the evening, really. Fulton drew a flag or 2, but was pretty solid in coverage for a lot of the night. Plus, he made an awesome tackle for loss on a bubble screen, shedding his block to make a hell of a play. Fulton's really the only player that I don't read into how late he played into this game. I mean, the guy signed a 2-year, $20 million contract in free agency, but from there, he had a knee cleanup procedure in the spring, then missed all of OTAs, mandatory minicamp. He missed almost all of training camp, didn't play in the first or second preseason game. So they gave him a bunch of snaps, get the cardio, get the conditioning, some real game reps in, and knock off the rust before he plays week 1 against the LA Chargers. On the subject of the secondary, I thought another standout was safety Jaden Hicks. He had a huge stop in coverage on 3rd down, showcasing quickness to make the tackle from behind and not allow any yards after the catch. Hicks made several tough tackles on and off all night and even hit Caleb Williams on a blitz that could have possibly been flagged, but they didn't call it, so whatever. Overall, loved Hicks being all over the place last night. Then Chris Jones was a menace out there per usual. He and Amenahue recorded a half sack, but Jones became such a problem last night that at one point I saw he was getting triple teamed. Someone else that was a menace later on was defensive end Ashton Gelati. He got flagged for roughing on one play, but the play prior had an incredible tackle for loss as he nearly took the handoff himself. From there, Gelati even somehow managed to tackle 3 people on one play for another loss. How does that even happen? I'm not sure, but I love it. All in all, I'm very encouraged about this Chiefs team, especially the starters. The way they look tells you all you need to know for now. There will be things to work on. It's just preseason, but they played against the Bears starters. They look like they are in great shape. Rice's suspension will throw a bit of a wrench into it all, I know, and then maybe they'll find another running back if they think some depth is needed there. But all in all, very happy here. The O-line's in a great place, especially with Jalen Moore being the next man up. He worked in with the second-team O-line at right tackle, while Wanye worked in on the left side. But the improved offensive line play, especially at left tackle, is going to do a lot for this offense. And with Mahomes' air yards per attempt averaging 10.6 yards last night, the emphasis on a more dynamic offense, more explosive offense is clear. Essentially, I feel like the Chiefs offense issued a warning shot in this one, signs of much more to come, and I'm not sure what answers the defenses they are going to face are actually going to have for it. But hey, let me know your thoughts on this last preseason game and how excited you are for this Chiefs team heading into week 1, especially considering the fact that Andy Reid shared after the game there were no new injuries sustained by the team in last night's preseason finale. Let me know either way in the comments down below, and until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?